Good evening, it's 9 p.m. and you're watching the news on Sansad TV with me, Bhavna Nair. There's a lot lined up in this edition of news. But first, a quick check on top 5 headlines we are tracking this evening. Prime Minister Modi holds summit meeting with Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Both sides signed 7 agreements related to space science, water resources, railways and technology. Stress on jointly combating terrorism. India gets first COVID nasal vaccine. DCGI approves Bharat Biotech's intranasal vaccine. Health Minister Mandavia calls it a big step in fighting pandemic. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar in Delhi meets Arvind Kejriwal, Om Prakash Chautala and leaders of left parties. Boris Johnson steps down as UK Prime Minister. Queen formally appoints Liz Truss as Britain's 56th Prime Minister. And Hinamino typhoon causes heavy destruction in South Korea. Death toll in China's earthquake on Monday rises to 65. A quick look now at some speed news. Demat accounts in the country crosses 10 crore mark for the first time in August. National Education Policy 2020 key initiative in realizing Prime Minister Modi's Panch Prana vision of developed India by 2047, says MOS for Education Annapurna Devi. Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav stresses multi-pronged approach to realize goals of low-carbon industry transitions. Centre constitutes 47-member national-level committee led by Suresh Prabhu to draft national cooperation policy. Jaishankar addresses Australia-India Leadership Dialogue 2022, asserts that bilateral relationship has moved into higher orbit to bring mutual benefits. Chief Justice of India Justice Uday Umesh Lalit inaugurates Nalsa Centre for Citizen Services in New Delhi. A day after Cyrus Mistri's death in a car crash, Union Minister Gadkari says efforts to check road accidents fruitless without people's cooperation. India condemns Monday's terrorist attack on Russian embassy in Kabul. Pakistani authorities struggle to stop Sindh's Lake Manchar from bursting into its banks after attempts to lower water levels fail. And US court grants Donald Trump's demand for special master to decide if classified material seized from his residence are covered by attorney-client and executive privilege. And tonight's top story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina held bilateral talks in New Delhi. The meeting was held at Hyderabad House in the national capital. The two leaders also had delegation-level talks aimed at further strengthening the India-Bangladesh partnership. The two leaders held wide-ranging and productive talks on regional and global issues of mutual interest, including water resources, trade and economic ties. Issues related to terrorism, border management and security, connectivity, energy, trade and investment were discussed in the delegation-level talks between the two nations. Agreement was reached on upgradation of railway infra projects in Bangladesh with assistance from Indian Railways. Continuing, India and Bangladesh signed 7 agreements after bilateral talks between Prime Minister Modi and Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The two nations will also start discussion on the comprehensive economic partnership agreement soon. Both sides signed agreements in railways, space technology, water sharing and connectivity. This includes an MOU between Prasar Bharati and Bangladesh Television on cooperation in the field of broadcasting. India and Bangladesh signed a key water sharing agreement on the Kushiara River. A number of infrastructure projects were also inaugurated and announced, including the unveiling of the Unit 1 of the Methri Thermal Power Plant at Khulna. Addressing the joint press conference, Prime Minister Modi said that India and Bangladesh should jointly face terrorist and fundamentalist forces. Sheikh Hasina also expressed hope for Teesta water sharing issue to be resolved soon.
द्विपक्षीय कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक पार्टनरशिप एग्रीमेंट पर शीघ्र चर्चा शुरू करेंगे। हमने आईटी, अंतरिक्ष और न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी जैसे सेक्टर में भी सहयोग बढ़ाने का निश्चय किया। आज हमने आतंकवाद और कट्टरवाद के खिलाफ सहयोग पर भी जोर दिया।
Two countries have resolved many outstanding issues in the spirit of friendship and cooperation, and we hope that all outstanding issues, including this water sharing treaty, would be concluded at an early date.
Earlier this morning, Sheikh Hasina was accorded a ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan. She was welcomed by Prime Minister Modi at the forecourt of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina also visited Rajghat and paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi at his memorial. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina called on President Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan today. She also met with Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar. Welcoming Sheikh Hasina to Rashtrapati Bhavan, President Draupadi Murmu said that the two nations are connected through shared history, language and culture. She noted that under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, bilateral ties between India and Bangladesh have grown immensely. She assured that India will continue to be a reliable partner in the developmental journey of Bangladesh. Bangladesh Prime Minister also met with Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar at Uparashtrapati Niwas. Both sides reiterated the shared commitment to take the relationship forward for the benefit of people of both countries. Vice President Dhankar appreciated the warmth and trust between the two countries. Moving on to our next story, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will travel to Japan this week to attend the next edition of 2+2 dialogue with their Japanese counterparts. The second India-Japan 2+2 ministerial meeting will take place from 7th to 10th September in Japan. The Ministry of External Affairs said the two sides will further explore new initiatives to strengthen the bilateral partnership. The ministers will also hold the Defence Ministerial Meeting and Foreign Ministers' Strategic Dialogue with their counterparts, Defence Minister Yasukazu Hamada and Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi, respectively. The 2+2 dialogue with Japan was initiated in 2019 to deepen bilateral security and defence cooperation. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has said that India has become one of the world's most attractive investment destinations. Addressing the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum in San Francisco, Goyal said that India would be happy and willing to negotiate a trade pact with the US provided America decides to look for a new free trade partner. He said game-changing economic reforms have been undertaken in India and it will become $30 trillion economy in the next 30 years.
I think you can all present the tremendous investment opportunities in India to international clients. In a way, work like a bridge between India and the United States here or other parts of the world where the chartered accountants have located themselves.
In a big boost to India's fight against COVID-19, the nation's first intranasal vaccine has been approved. Health and Family Welfare Minister Mansukh Mandavia said that Bharat Biotech's recombinant nasal vaccine has been approved by Central Drugs Standard Control Organization. It has been approved for primary immunization against COVID-19 in people above 18 years age for restricted use in emergency situation. Mandavia said that the step will further strengthen government's collective fight against the pandemic. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla interacted with students in his parliamentary constituency Kota in Rajasthan today. He said that the energy of the students has strengthened his belief in the making of a developed and self-reliant India. Lok Sabha Speaker asked the youth to set their goals and work hard with full dedication to achieve them. Also present at the event, Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan discussed the role of Kota in increasing the reach of education through technology, promoting research and achieving the goal of a developed India. Lok Sabha Speaker and Education Minister also attended a teachers' felicitation ceremony in the city. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said that education is important for building a person's character. He said that a teacher educates the students in culture and civilization.
चरित्र निर्माण की पद्धति है, व्यक्ति निर्माण की पद्धति है। वो अगर पद्धति से किसी ने बनाया है तो गुरु ने ही बनाया है। और इसीलिए आज साथियों में कह सकते हैं कि माता पिता जन्म जरूर देते हैं, लेकिन अगर कोई जीवन देता है, संस्कार देता है, सभ्यता देता है तो वह गुरु ही देता है।
विद्या की, संस्कृति की, कला की, वीर गाथा की इस मानव सभ्यता को, भारतीय सभ्यता को किसी ने शिक्षक की भूमिका में मार्गदर्शन किया है तो इस पवित्र वीर भूमि राजस्थान को कितना भी हम प्रणाम करें तो कम होता है।
Now let's take a look at news from across the nation. Rajnath Singh, the first Indian Defence Minister to visit Mongolia, met the top leadership of the country. He discussed ways to further deepen the multifaceted strategic partnership between the two countries with the Mongolian president. Singh is on a 5-day visit to Mongolia and Japan with an aim to expand India's strategic and defence ties with the two countries. Indian Army Chief General Manoj Pandey is on a visit to Nepal. Today he met the Prime Minister of Nepal, Sher Bahadur Deuba. The purpose of his visit is to strengthen defence ties between the two neighbouring countries. The Supreme Court on Tuesday is examining the constitutional validity of the centre's decision to grant 10% reservation to EWS in admissions and jobs. It will first hear petitions related to this from 13th September. It will take up next High Court verdict that set aside a local law granting quota to Muslims. The Enforcement Directorate conducted searches at 40 locations in Delhi and other places in connection with the Delhi Excise Policy money laundering case. Several places in Telangana, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka were searched by the ED. 4,417 new COVID-19 cases have been reported in the last 24 hours. This is the lowest single-day reporting of the disease in the last 3 months. The cases under treatment have come down to 52,336. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar met leaders of opposition parties in Delhi today. He said the purpose of the meeting was to unite all the regional parties and form a strong opposition. In a series of meetings, Nitish Kumar called upon Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. At the CPIM office, he met CPIM leader Sitaram Yechuri. He also met CPI General Secretary D. Raja. The two leaders discussed the current political developments in the country. Nitish Kumar met former Haryana Minister Om Prakash Chautala in Gurugram. And now, news from the world of business and economy. The Union Government released the 6th installment of Post-Devolution Revenue Deficit PDRD grant amounting to Rs 7,183 crore to 14 states. West Bengal received the highest share of Rs 1,132.25 crores, while Kerala received Rs 1,097 crore. The 15th Finance Commission recommended a total post-devolution revenue deficit grant of Rs 86,201 crore to 14 states for 2022-23. Adani Power Limited will commission a 1.6 gigawatt facility in Jharkhand and a dedicated transmission line to export electricity to Bangladesh by December. Gautam Adani announced after a meeting with Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The project will help mitigate energy crisis in Bangladesh. Indian Railways has said that it is on the fast track to achieve record production levels in 2022-23 with units in Chennai, Kapurthala, Chittaranjan, Varanasi, Bela and Patiala rolling out the latest products using advanced technology. A large number of latest coaches of Vande Bharat, Vistadome and other railway products are being developed. And now, what's happened in the Sensex? At the end of a volatile trading session, benchmark BSE Sensex closed 49 points lower to settle at 59,196 points, while NSE Nifty dropped 10 points to close at 17,655. Kotak Mahindra, Nestle, Asian Paints and Bajaj Finserv were among the worst performers, with losses of up to 3%. Power, energy and metal stocks made marginal gains of up to 1%. And talking about global markets now, markets in US and Europe trailed by 1 to 2%, while stocks in Asia registered growth of up to 1%. Nikkei 225, Taiwan Kospi, Shanghai all made marginal gains of more than 1%. Moving on, numbers of Demat accounts in India have crossed the 10 crore mark in the first time in August this year. Over 22 lakh new accounts were opened in August. The data has been released by depository firms National Securities Depository Limited and Central Depository Services. India's Demat account tally was 4 crore 9 lakh in March 2020, just before the outbreak of COVID-19 in the country. The sharp surge in the market is attributed to ease of account opening, increase in mobile and data penetration, and a drop in brokerage rates. Slipping into a very short break here, but on the other side. Manhunt continues for Canada's tapping rampage suspects. One of the two suspects found dead. All this and much more after the short break. You stay tuned to Sansad TV for more news. Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news and time now for all the big developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned of a near radiation catastrophe as a fire-forced shutdown of the last working reactor at Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant on Monday. Ukraine's state-run nuclear operator Energoatom said on Monday that power unit 6 was disconnected from the grid because of a fire that was triggered because of shelling. Speaking in his regular video address on Monday night, Zelensky said the shelling showed Russia did not care what the IAEA will say. 3 civilians, including an elderly woman, were killed in Russian rocket attacks on Ukraine's eastern Kharkiv region. Another rocket attack on Tuesday morning badly damaged a 5-story residential apartment building near the city center. Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, is close to the Russian border and has been under constant shelling throughout the conflict. The Russian Defense Ministry said that the Russian forces destroyed more than 30 Ukrainian combat vehicles in Nikolaev region. Russia said that their forces have shot down 4 US-manufactured HARM anti-radar missiles and intercepted 34 projectiles launched by HIMARS, Uragan and Olkha multiple rocket launchers in Kherson region. The Ukrainian military said that they attacked the occupied Antonovsky Bridge in the Kherson region once again. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky congratulated UK's new Prime Minister Liz Truss. He said that she was always on the enlightened side of European politics, and Kiev looked forward to further cooperation with her. Zelensky said that he had spoken with outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Monday and praised him for his support to Ukraine during Russia's invasion. Russia is buying millions of artillery shells and rockets from North Korea, according to newly declassified intelligence reports from the United States. A US official has said that Russia turning to the isolated state of North Korea demonstrates that the Russian military continues to suffer from severe supply shortages in Ukraine, due in part to export controls and sanctions. The New York Times, which first reported the purchase, said the reports provided little detail on the exact weaponry involved or the timing or size of the shipments. And time now for some other global updates. Conservative Party leader Liz Truss was on Tuesday formally appointed as Britain's new Prime Minister by Queen Elizabeth II, becoming the third female Premier in the country. Truss travelled to the 96-year-old monarch's Balmoral Castle residence in Scotland to meet the Queen, who formally asked her to form a new government. Earlier, outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson submitted his resignation to the Queen. So what will be Liz Truss' next step? And what are the immediate challenges she faces? Here's a report.
Boris Johnson bowed out as British Prime Minister on Tuesday, ending an eventful 3 years in office and bequeathing his successor, Liz Truss, a daunting list of problems to tackle. Johnson, who was forced out of office by his own Conservative Party over a series of scandals, urged the country to come together and back his successor. After making a farewell speech outside Downing Street, he left London to travel to Scotland and tender his resignation to Queen Elizabeth. On Tuesday, Truss departed by plane from Northolt to meet Queen Elizabeth. After being announced as Prime Minister, Truss will address the country and start to form a government. After a bitter leadership contest, Truss won 57% of the votes from Conservative Party members compared to 43% for her rival, former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak. Although comfortable, the margin was not as overwhelming as some polls suggested. 47-year-old Truss is tasked with steering Britain through a looming lengthy recession and an energy crisis that threatens the finances of millions of households and businesses. Bureau Report, Sunset TV.
And now news from Canada's stabbing spree. One of the suspects in the stabbing deaths of 10 people on Sunday in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan was found dead on Monday. The body of 31-year-old Damien Sanderson was found near the stabbing sites, and police said that they believe his brother, Myles Sanderson, had killed him. Here's a report.
The Canadian police found one of the suspects in a mass stabbing spree dead, while the other suspect, his brother, was still on the run and may be injured. The brothers, Damien and Myles Sanderson, are suspected of murdering 10 people and wounding 18 in a stabbing rampage that devastated an Indigenous community on Sunday. The attacks were among the deadliest in Canada's modern history. The police said some of the victims appeared to have been targeted, while others were apparently random. In a manhunt involving hundreds of police officers, Damien Sanderson, 31, was found dead in a grassy area on the James Smith Cree Nation, possibly killed by his brother, who had been previously wanted for violent crimes. The police said the brother, still at large, Myles Sanderson, may have sustained injuries and could be seeking medical attention. With the death of one Sanderson brother and the injury to the other, the casualty count now stood at 11 dead and 19 injured. The police warned that Myles Sanderson was a danger to the public even if he were injured. Bureau Report, Sunset TV.
More international news now in Global Wrap. 2 people were killed and 10 persons were reported missing after Typhoon Hinnamnor, one of the fiercest storms to ever hit South Korea's shores. However, the typhoon found its way out to sea more quickly than forecast had anticipated, causing torrential rain and powerful gusts. In Japan, the typhoon led to the cancellation of over 100 flights and suspension of train services due to strong winds and heavy rain. The Portuguese government announced measures that amount to €2.4 billion to help families cope with increasing inflation. Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Costa announced 8 key measures that include a one-time payment of €125 per citizen with an income of up to 2,700 monthly euros and an additional €50 per child or young person per household. Inflation in Portugal stabilized at about 9% in August. French President Emmanuel Macron called for a sharp 10% reduction in the country's energy use in coming weeks to avoid rationing and cuts this winter. Amid tensions with supplier Russia with the war in Ukraine, Macron warned that forced energy savings might have to be considered in coming months if voluntary efforts weren't sufficient. African heads of state and top figures from global organizations met in Rotterdam to address climate change financing in Africa. Rich countries said that they will spend about $25 billion by 2025 to boost Africa's efforts to adapt to climate change as the continent continues to struggle with drought, cyclones, and extreme heat. The amount promised by the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program is the largest ever adaptation effort globally. China denounced the US for its latest arms sale to Taiwan. The Biden administration on Friday announced a $1.09 billion arms sale to Taiwan, including $355 million to Harpoon air-to-sea missiles and $85 million for Sidewinder air-to-air missiles. Asked about the deal, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said that it blatantly violates the One China principle and severely damages China-US relations. And time now to let's see what's happening in the world of sports. India are taking on Sri Lanka in their second Super 4 match of the Asia Cup. India have set a target of 174 for Sri Lanka. Having lost their first Super 4 match to Pakistan, India are in a must-win situation to revive their campaign in the tournament. Former India batter Suresh Raina on Tuesday announced his retirement from all forms of cricket, a move that makes him eligible for competing in overseas T20 leagues. The 35-year-old had announced international retirement on August 15, 2020. A 158-run sixth-wicket partnership between Cameron Green and Alex Carey helped Australia beat New Zealand in the first ODI by 8 wickets. Kiwis made 232 for 9. Australia reached the target with 2 wickets in hand and 5 overs to spare. Francis Tiafoe of the United States produced the performance of a lifetime to send Rafael Nadal crashing out of the US Open in a stunning fourth-round upset. Tiafoe shattered Nadal's hopes of adding to his record collection of 22 Grand Slam singles titles with 6-4, 4-6, 6-4, 6-3 victory. And that's a wrap of today's edition of the news. Stay tuned for more updates on Sansar TV. Till then, goodbye. Namaskar.